Hello there, welcome to Chasing Collectibles. I'm Tyler, and I am joined today by my good friend Brooks. Today we're doing something a little bit different. We're going to be doing an update on the state of affairs with the DC movies. The Marvel Cinematic Universe has been getting a lot of attention for many years, but it seems like DC might be on the up and up with a lot of recent developments. And I want to invite Brooks because him and I are good friends. We went to college together, we're roommates, and he also, from my understanding, has a decent following on the Twitter, about 8,000 followers, and you've had some tweets go viral here and there.
Once or twice may have shown up on the homepage
Yeah.
of Twitter, once or twice. Maybe one of them got seen by a million people, maybe.
Oh wow.
So
Sometimes talking about DC stuff, sometimes throwing shade at Marvel,
sometimes. I mean,
ranking movies, all that fun stuff.
yeah.
So our plan today is to talk about the movies that are coming up imminently, movies and TV shows that are in development, and then get into some speculation on our part about what we would like to see. Just a bit of, I guess, window dressing here that there will be some spoilers for Black Adam, specifically the post-credit scene, because of the implications that that had. So if you have not seen Black Adam at this point, um, why haven't you seen it? And two, you probably already know what the post credit scene is anyway, but we're just a caveat on that because that'll play a role. Um, so, uh, what is coming out in the next year in 2023? Because we're almost there. We're 2 months away from 2023.
So, assuming everything keeps its release date, which, I mean, everything had already been delayed once, so it doesn't really feel like twice as necessary, but we'll see. But we have Shazam 2, the Fury of the Gods movie, sequel to the 2019 movie that's coming out pretty soon in around March 17th, I
Yep.
believe.
Hmm.
So mid March. That's kind of around the same time as the last movie was released. So we'll see what goes on with that one. It's a continuation of the second movie. Seems like not much time has passed. And they're using some villains I'm not particularly familiar with, but I mean, you got Helen Mirren and Lucy Liu and the actress from West Side Story as like three gods that are going to be fighting. So, I mean, that sounds pretty good to me. I like all those actors. So, optimistic about that one. I really liked the first one.
Yeah.
Um, then we have the Flash film coming out just a few months later in June. So that'll be a quick turnaround
Hmm.
from Shazam. So the Flash, and it promises, to deliver all this stuff. We've got Michael Keaton returning
Hmm.
as Batman. He has not been Batman since the early 1990s. And personally, I'm a fan of those Tim Burton movies. I mean, before, everyone loved The Dark Knight, those were your
Yeah.
Batman movies, and so it was like that was for me at least as a kid that was always on TV, and so that's what you watched if you liked Batman. And I liked Tim Burton's vision. He went really like gothic with it because
Yeah.
it's Tim Burton,
Yeah.
but I mean I liked it, and the villains were iconic. So we'll get to see Michael Keaton pop back up again. He will put on the suit. They've already teased that, so we'll see him in that. So we've got Keaton in there. It's going to introduce Supergirl into the movie universe, which I think is exciting
Yeah.
because I like Supergirl. So we'll get to see the movie version of it. And it's going to be a multiverse movie, Flash going through the multiverse. I've heard speculation it has a No Way Home vibe to it because you've got different movie universes that have existed throughout, the past couple of decades. So there's like a lot of jumping into different universes. So we'll see what goes on with that. Don't really know who the villain is per se, but I would expect some sort of like multiversal threat to be the thing there. And I think there's probably some surprises we don't yet know about. I mean, there's definitely some stuff I feel like I know about just because I've seen rumors, but I think some people will go in surprised who shows up in that.
Yeah.
But supposedly that's gonna at least it was supposed to set the tone for the future. So we'll see if it does that exactly. Ben Affleck will return as Batman. He hasn't been on screen in a few years, so we'll see him return as well. So the movie will have at least two bad people. So
Batman.
yeah.
And I know there's been some talking. We'll get to the more of the future in a little bit. I know that the actor who portrays the Flash has been in some controversy lately, and it's a shame because it's a lot of behind the scenes stuff
Hmm.
that, from what I've heard, the movie has screened really well, but his or their outside behavior has probably made it where they will probably not be returning as the Flash.
Um, yeah, there's a lot of behind the scenes drama with Ezra Miller. They've apologized for a bunch of stuff. I mean, to me, it just seems like, you don't want to put a bunch of money into a movie when you think your star might drag it down. So I have heard rumors that moving forward, the Flash role might be recast with a different actor. It is a shame because I did like Ezra's portrayal in the Snyder films. I actually thought he had a good job. That scene where he goes into the Speed
Oh yeah, that
Force. I
was
mean,
really
that
cool.
was really cool,
Hmm.
So I mean, if they somehow miraculously are able to overcome all this and all is forgiven or whatever, then I don't know. We'll see what happens, but it just seems like they've kind of dug themselves into a bit of a hole. So
Yeah.
I don't really know what's going to happen with that. But regardless, I mean, you can't have a movie universe without the Flash.
No.
So someone will be the Flash.
Yes, it'll be me. Um, Coming up shortly after, Blue Beetle is coming out August 18th.
Hmm. So again, I mean, there's four movies coming out next year for DC, assuming they all keep their release date. And Blue Beetle is, I feel like, the most interesting one out of the bunch because it's a character we've never really seen on the big screen before. Some audiences may not be familiar with that character, but if you're a Young Justice fan, I got the T-shirt on.
Synergy.
Um, if you're a Young Justice fan, you know who Blue Beetle is. I mean, season two was all about Blue Beetle. He has appeared in some of the TV shows and like some of the animated movies. So if you're like a pretty decent DC fan, you know who that is. But to the mainstream, I think it's going to be introducing that character and testing to see if that's someone who could appeal. I think it's going to skew younger.
Yeah.
Like I think they're trying to make that like a Peter Parker or a Static Shock or Miles Morales type character that appeals to um, the like teenage, preteen kind of demographic. You got the actor from Cobra Kai.
Hmm.
He's like pretty popular on that show. And I've seen like behind the scenes photos, and the suit looks great. I mean, that looks just like copy and paste from the comic book. His suit does, and he's got the Blue Beetle helmet and everything. So I'm curious. I hope people give it a chance for sure. We'll see what happens with that.
Yeah.
Susan Sarandon's apparently the villain,
Hmm.
so we'll
Be
see how
cool.
that
Yeah.
goes. Is she just Betty Davis?
And then rounding out the year, Aquaman 2 is coming out on December 25th, so Christmas release date.
And the first Aquaman released in December, and that made $1 billion, over $1 billion,
Mm.
and that was a big hit. Um, I liked it. I thought it was like, it felt like one of those just giant blockbuster like popcorn movies, but also incorporated one of the most famous Aquaman storylines with Ocean Master. Ocean Master, by the way, one in my opinion, one of the best DC film villains for me. I thought he was great. Jason Momoa, I like his Aquaman. I think it's a twist on, the normal like white blonde
Yeah,
I mean, Aquaman's basically the whitest character in the DCU, but I don't know. I like the twist on making him like, from the like Pacific
yeah,
Islands, where, that culture's so wrapped into the ocean, protecting the ocean,
yeah.
that type of
It
thing. I
works.
think it works.
Yeah,
And he has, I don't know, there's just something about him that's just so likable. Like,
yeah,
maybe he's not going to deliver like the best Oscar winning performance, but I think he's just likable. Like there's
hmm
just something about his personality you like. So um I'm looking forward to it. I know Ocean Master will return, so I'm curious how that's going to go. Black Manta will also be a part of it again. So I don't know. Another thing to address is the presence of Amber Heard as
that's right.
Mira.
That's right.
You know, we're not going to go into the depth versus herd thing.
Take a side right now.
Yeah, we're not going into that. But I mean, that is something that could potentially cause some people to not want to see the movie. I have heard rumors that she's barely in the movie because of the controversy. So I don't really know if that's anything to worry yourself about. I don't know.
Yeah,
But I think, it's Christmas. There's no Star Wars or Avatar movie, so like, what else are you gonna go see
yeah,
for December? There's no Marvel movie. It's literally just Aquaman.
yeah.
So, I think Aquaman's gonna dominate December. I don't know how some of these other movies will do financially, but I have the most confidence in Aquaman. I think so.
So now we're going to get into what is coming up in the future, in terms of beyond 2023. Um, we have a few films that are in the various stages of development. Joker 2, which has a different title than Joker 2. Um, I just don't have it off the top of my head right now.
Folie à deux.
There we go.
It's French.
That's a note. Pinky up.
When two become one, which um we also have to mention we now know like the meaning behind that title, which is Joker 2 will star Harley Quinn, and she's going to be played by Lady Gaga.
Yeah, that's
What do you think about
I never.
that?
I think it's gonna be like there's gonna be musical elements.
Yeah, there's going to be songs. So I'm assuming Lady Gaga as Harley is singing. This is so out of left field to me, but it also feels right. I don't know. I'm excited about it. Like I'm just so curious because I feel like it's a big swing.
What I like about this, and I was gonna address this a little bit later, but I do enjoy the MCU for the most part. But you and I have similar critiques. Sometimes you're harsher in the MCU than I am, but I think they can be a little bit like repetitive. A lot of the stuff feels very similar. You do have movies like Black Panther definitely feels very distinct.
Hmm.
You have different movies that have great feels to them, but it does feel like DC. A lot of people like to give the DC movies crap. Most of them are MCU fanboys, but uh, you can't deny that like these DC movies, they get a lot of freedom. Like you have the Joker, you have the Batman, you have Wonder Woman and Aquaman. All are distinct movies, and I just hope that continues. Going forward, because it is really cool to see what they're able to do. Like I don't think you'd have a Marvel movie doing anything a musical and
No, I feel like when they try to do something stylistic, they end up just reverting back to form. Like with WandaVision, you started out with the black and white and the sitcom stuff, and that was the part that I liked. And then it was like two episodes in, never mind, let's go back to, our MCU stuff and let's cram in, all these characters making one-liners and stuff. And I don't know, it just wasn't for me.
yeah.
But I do think they have more creative freedom. I mean, the Batman film that came out this year is a testament to that. I think I told you when that come out, Marvel will never make a movie like that,
Yeah,
ever.
yeah.
Nothing that where someone just has that much artistic input. They'll never make a movie like that.
And I do, and I do enjoy the Marvel movies for what they are. But you just, this the way that the movies seem to be produced. It's just very different from how the
Yeah.
DC movies are.
I think people are kept on a leash to a certain degree.
Yeah,
And you know what? That's not just me speculating. Directors have come out and said that,
yeah,
okay?
yeah,
So don't shoot the messenger. I mean, Sam Raimi said my Doctor Strange was very different than the one that was
yeah.
released. So I can only take what they're saying. So,
Speaking of the Batman, we know that at some point there will be a Batman 2. So we're looking forward to that. We both loved the first one. We went to a pre-screening
hmm
and IMAX. It was awesome. We loved it. So that's going to be cool. We'll get to some speculation about that a little bit later, some TV shows. And then there is Black Adam spoiler. What did we see at the end of the post-credit scene of Black Adam?
Superman.
Which Superman?
Henry Cavill Superman.
Yes,
The best
he finally came back, and we could do a whole video about, I guess, the whole journey of him coming back.
one.
And I remember in the summer there was speculation, a rumor swirled that he would show up at the Shazam panel, and he did not. And there was actually fans that were disappointed. And then we found out that The Rock seems to have played a very big role in
hmm
getting Henry Cavill back. We know there's all these behind the scenes stuff about how Henry Cavill was treated, and a bunch of cast members in the wake of all the Snyder stuff.
hmm
And so it looks like he is definitely coming back. He's leaving The Witcher, freeing up his schedule.
hmm
And we're going to be seeing a Superman movie at some point in the
I
near
never
future.
want to hear anyone bash The Rock ever again, okay? The Rock made this, single-handedly made this happen, as far as I'm convinced. I just think the people in charge at the time, which we'll also get into a little more, but there's been a big leadership change in the past few months. But the old guard, as it was just so determined that no, we're not doing his version of Superman. Like, we might have a Superman from another Earth, but they're just going to keep ignoring him, keep having headless cameos and stuff.
Hmm.
And I'm sorry, you can't have a main movie universe that's DC without your
You need
top
Superman,
two.
yeah.
You need a Superman and you need a Batman. Like, sorry. Um, that's just the way it is. And those people have gotten the boot, thankfully. And so now, The Rock went to appeal to the new leadership in charge and was like, we need this. Like, we have to do this. This is what people want to see. And so I believe that that scene that we see at the end of the movie was filmed around August or September. Like, I think it was not that long ago that the decision was made. And
Hmm.
so now I think, after the film was released, they've announced a Superman movie is in development. So, and you said he's leaving The Witcher after season 3 comes out. So I think this is going to free him up. He's going to be able to be Superman full time now, which makes me excited. And I have heard, not to get into, I won't spoil anything, but I have heard rumors that even next year we might see him again somewhere.
Hmm.
So,
Interesting.
hmm
And then we have two more films that are in the script stage of development. We have The Flash 2, which would be a sequel to the Flash movie coming out
hmm
next year. And we don't really know what's going to happen with that. It's supposed to supposedly reset stuff, so we can't really speculate too much on what that'll be. And then there is a script being written for Wonder Woman 3 currently.
hmm So, Flash 2, um, again, we'll see who ends up being the Flash actor. But I personally, what I would like to see, I really like the Rogues gallery that the Flash has.
Hmm.
Initially, before everything went to crap, there was supposed to be a Flash movie after the Justice League film, um, where Captain Cold was the villain. And I think that'd be pretty cool. So I hope they kind of revisit that.
Yeah.
Or maybe like Heat Wave
Hmm.
or Mirror Master or someone. I think The Flash has cool villains.
Yeah.
So I hope they decide to revisit that. I think now that the Flash series is ending, that kind of gets away any sort of like brand confusion.
Yeah.
So now you can do Captain Cold or Heat Wave or
Hmm.
whoever. So personally, that's what I'd like to see. As for Wonder Woman 3, I mean, it's still early days for that. I have heard that unlike the first two, it will be set in the present.
Hmm.
So we will have that. And, Wonder Woman deserves a trilogy. So I hope it comes to fruition. We'll see what happens, who the villains are for that. Um, yeah, I think it would be cool to do like she has a famous story, the War of the Gods.
Oh yeah.
I think it would be
Yeah.
cool to do some like Greek mythology stuff. That's the part of Wonder Woman I like. It's like the, Themyscira, Greek mythology, fighting gods and stuff. Maybe Zeus. That'd
Yeah.
be cool. So,
The
or
Russell Crowe Zeus from Thor: Love and Thunder.
no, a good one. Um, or Hades. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
So,
Lastly, we're going to talk about some TV shows that we know are in various stages of development. Um, we know that there are a bunch of shows that are connected to the Batman universe. So we know that there's Ben Affleck Batman, who seems to be the Batman of the main universe,
mhm.
and that there is a Robert Pattinson Batman who is in the universe that we saw established earlier this year. And there are a bunch of shows in various stages of development. There is the Penguin with Colin Farrell. There is an Arkham show, and then they recently announced that there are three. And you said these are movies, right? Or are they shows or movies?
It has not been specified. I think they are debating whether or not to do a movie or a series for each of these.
So these are three villains that are going to get shows or movies in this universe: Scarecrow, Clayface, and Professor Pig. And I'm a huge Batman fan, and we both are. And the villains are one of the things that makes Batman such an awesome character. And for them to be paying so much attention to these villains gets me so excited. I love the way that they presented the Riddler in such like a modern and unique way. And so I'm very curious to see like, Scarecrow, what could that be like? How do you do Clayface? Will he literally be made of clay? Will it be like, is it more of like how do you do that in this more somewhat grounded reality? Um,
Will he be a zany actor?
yeah,
That's what I hope
will he,
for.
will he be like in the Harley Quinn show?
I hope it's like the Harley Quinn
Yeah,
version.
and then Professor Pig. Oh my, that character can get so scary.
Gruesome.
So you're like,
Creepy.
ugh. Um, and then also the Penguin show looks very cool because in the wake of at the end of the Batman, the whole city's flooded, so it seems like it'll be like a power grab for him trying to like become like the kingpin of
Yeah.
Gotham.
I mean, you see Carmine Falcone die. It was announced that there is an actress going to play Sophia Falcone.
Mm.
But this is filming in January, by the way, so this is happening.
Yeah,
And I think we could very well see it like towards maybe the end of next year, maybe like a fall, like a November or December release,
hmm,
which I think is a good way to kind of pacify people as they wait for the actual sequel.
yeah,
But Sophia Falcone is going to be in it, um, and I'm assuming we kind of see Penguin rise to the top
yeah,
in the crime world in Gotham, which will be exciting. And I think there might be some surprises in there. I
yeah. They
think we
can,
might see some, no like A list, like I don't think Poison Ivy's going to show up, but I think you may see some
like Zaz maybe.
Victor Zaz, maybe Black Mask. I was about to say Firefly, but then I thought of the Batgirl movie. I'm like, oh, maybe not.
Nah.
Um, R.I.P. Um, you could have some different, maybe lower tier characters, but people that you're still, if you're a Batman fan, you're still like, oh,
Yeah,
you're still excited to see them. So, I think we could have some surprises there. I hope it feel like it has the like look and feel of like The Godfather or Goodfellas or something. I think
yeah,
that would be cool. So,
yeah. And also the Penguin was surprisingly a really entertaining character in the Batman. Like he was taken seriously, but he was also like just like he had a lot of funny moments too. So
quite the scene stealer for
yeah,
sure.
I love when he's like, what are you showing me here? And that's how I feel most of the time on Twitter.
Take it easy, sweetheart.
Yeah, exactly. And then one more show, the Peacemaker is getting a season two,
Hmm.
and we watched that together. And I remember going into it, I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna feel about this. I was kind of like just went in open minded,
Hmm.
and it like was pretty good. Like the intro always got stuck in our heads, and
Best intro ever.
and some people like to gave it like some critiques of like, oh, he's too silly or he's too a certain way, but I thought it worked. Like it was fine. Like I mean, they're like, oh, he's saying all this stuff about the Flash and Wonder Woman, and all that. Like he's supposed to like be kind of ignorant and airhead. He's not the
Yeah,
brightest character in the world, but I mean, I think John Cena did a really good job.
I think I mean, that's just his character,
Yeah,
like you can't really, I mean, you're not watching, he's not Batman
yeah,
or Superman, like, I mean, he's supposed to be a little inappropriate,
yeah,
so and I don't know. I feel like if you watched that Suicide Squad movie, you kind of knew what you were getting into. So
yeah,
I don't know why anyone would be surprised by that.
yeah.
It was pretty good though. I actually, Peacemaker, not really a character a lot of people knew right off the bat.
Hmm.
Um, and I don't know. I just feel like even heard like people on the street talking about it. So I think it was a decent hit for them. Um, I am curious to see where it goes. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I hope he recruits some more members of his team.
Yes.
I liked Vigilante. He was
Oh yeah,
funny.
he was funny.
So,
Yeah.
I hope we get some more. James Gunn always does so good with like the obscure,
Yeah.
I mean, because who knew about the Guardians before that,
Hmm.
And we'll get to him more later, but he does very well with the obscure.
Yeah.
So,
So speaking of him, and for the MCU for its high and its lows, uh, they've had Kevin Feige at the helm, and he's has managed to do something very very cool over the past, oh my gosh, how many years? 14 years that this thing's been going on, which is crazy. Where you have all these interconnected things, and really part of the reason it was able to happen is because you have a guy like Kevin Feige that had to manage and connect everything together and lay the seeds for us to have the culmination that we saw in Endgame and all that. And we can critique the MCU, but it's pretty cool what they've managed to do. And I think that's been part of what DC has been lacking is, if we want to do this DCU thing, we might need to have somebody or somebodies at the top of the helm. So what's happened with DC? What's going on with leadership?
so I mentioned the old guard at WB Warner Brothers has changed. They merged with Discovery. That was kind of the first chip to fall. And then slowly people have resigned and been replaced. There's a new chair of the movie division. And then there is that person, or actually, it's several people now, not just one person. But those people appointed James Gunn, director of the Guardians films, the most recent Suicide Squad, and Peacemaker to oversee DC Studios alongside Peter Safran, who has kind of been around. He produced Aquaman and Shazam, so he's had his foot in the DC pond for a little while. Also done some like horror movies. I think he produced It,
Mm,
the two It movies.
yeah,
So he's been at Warner Brothers. So to me, it's like a combination of like the creative side and the business side.
yeah,
Because most of Peter Safran's movies financially have done very well. And then James Gunn, his movies have a distinct style. Most of the time critically well received, most of the time financially successful. So I think they thought having two people that come from like two different sides of the entertainment industry would be the best to run this new DC Studios. And they are not in charge of just movies, but it's the films, television, all of the television, not just HBO, all of it. Um, Animation, and video games.
yeah,
So they're in charge of virtually everything DC aside from the comics, which is still like Jim Lee and whoever else is in charge of that. But they're in charge of all the entertainment stuff, basically. So what they're currently doing right now um, is doing what they call crafting the DC Bible, which is basically going to be a guide for the DC universe. Like, how should the next decade go for
Hmm.
DC movies? So, like, the next 10 years. Because that was what David Zaslav, the chair of Warner Brothers, wanted, was basically a 10-year plan.
Hmm.
Because it felt, at least from people on the outside looking in, that they're just kind of spinning in circles. They don't know what to do with Batman. They don't know what to do with Superman. The Flash is in flux. It was just we could not see the big picture.
Right.
And Gunn and Safran's job is to figure out that big picture. And so they've been actively working at that the past few weeks. They started in October, right after the release of Black Adam. That was kind of the last movie to come out with the old guard still, I guess,
Hmm.
having input. But they're gone. Gunn and Safran have moved in, and they are making their DC Bible, and I've they're just continually working on that, fleshing things out. And Gunn said on Twitter the other day that they will present what they've made, so what they've created, to Warner Brothers, the company, not to the public, but to the company, in 2 months' time.
Hmm.
So, like, around January,
Nice.
basically. So I would expect after that, because 2024 and 2025 is looking pretty empty at the moment. 2024 just has Joker. And we know the Batman sequel's coming at some point, but I mean, nothing's dated yet.
Right.
But I would anticipate after that, you're just going to start seeing announcements
Yeah.
like roll in. Um, not all at once, but
Strategically and
yeah,
yeah.
I think it'll be a slow drip over the coming months. I think they'll have a real presentation at Comic Con next year. They could pull a. That'll be so weird now. To have like Kevin Feige get up and do his thing, and you got the little
Yeah.
timeline
The
on the
thing with all the
board with the
pictures and
little logos, but it's like, is James Gunn and Peter Safran going to do the same thing? So
yeah.
it's going to be back to back. We're going to be looking at a lot of logos and different
Well,
letterhead
yeah.
fonts.
Well,
So, um, but I mean, for me as someone, there's some Marvel films I really like. There's some that I think are boring as tar. And there's some that are just genuinely awful, I feel. So a part of me is kind of like, well, I hope we don't just copy.
yeah.
That's not really what I want.
Well, he has said that he's going to make sure that you mentioned James Gunn has a style, and he's recognized that other people within have styles as well. So it's not going to be like every movie is going to be a James Gunn esque film.
Yeah,
Everyone they're going to have independence.
he has said, like, and I think it's honestly, some people reacted negatively to this decision because it's like, oh, they're just trying to be Marvel. And I'm just like, well, he jumped over, though, to the other side because Marvel fired him initially. So I don't really feel like there is, this great loyalty, because
Yeah.
they didn't really show him loyalty.
Yeah.
So I don't really think that's a concern. And I felt like the Suicide Squad movie. I mean, I know it got released during the pandemic, so like most people had to watch it at home. But I mean, I've read Suicide Squad books, and I think it captured the feeling of
Yeah.
that, of reading one. And so I think he can get the DC universe. I don't think he's going to be the type to want to self-insert what choices he would make. I think his job is to just find like really talented people to tell, whatever story they want to tell, and let them keep their individual flair to
Yeah.
it.
So I thought we'd spend this last 10, 15 minutes or so. Now that we've established everything, we know it's coming out next year. We know what is going to come out in the future in terms of development, and we know that there's going to be some sort of plan in the future with James Gunn. um, and Peter Safran at the helm. So I thought we'd do some speculation about what would we like to see in this DC Bible. So what would you like to see as a DC fan?
Well, we know Superman's coming, so that would be my first response, but we know that's happening.
Yeah,
Like it's happening.
yeah,
So I feel pretty confident about that. Um, where is the Green Lantern Corps?
hmm
I mean, that is a big part of your universe. It doesn't look like that TV show they wanted to happen is going to happen. I kind of feel like it should be a movie, a little Star Wars esque, if you will, because most of the time Green Lanterns are in space.
yeah.
So I think they should just. I know the Ryan Reynolds movie didn't do that well, but you gotta. I feel like you can't
Just never do it
just
again.
never do it again. Yeah, I mean, you just kind of get back up again. Clearly, that wasn't the right. Well, now they know what not to do, I
Yeah.
guess. But I think you should make a Green Lantern Corps movie.
hmm
Dump a bunch of money on it, make it expensive looking. And I think going about it in like a Star Wars esque way, especially since Star Wars is taking a break anyway. Now's the
Fill that
time to
void.
kind
Yeah.
of fill that sci-fi void because we don't really have a bunch of sci-fi movies right now. Um, I'd like to see Green Arrow brought onto the board.
Yeah.
I loved that Arrow show, um, but we need him in the main universe. I feel like he's cooler than Hawkeye. So
Yeah.
sorry, Hawkeye
No, he
people.
is. That's not a hot
Yeah, he's
take.
cool there. So, um, there was like a Black Canary project kind of in development. Who really knows at this point if anything announced pre-gun will actually happen or
hmm
not? Gun and Saffron, I guess.
You don't want to jump the gun.
Yeah, so I don't know if we should be taking those pre their existence announcements to heart because I don't really know if those will see the light of day or if they'll be reworked in any way. So, but Black Canary would be cool. I would like to see a JSA spinoff.
Oh, that was I love them in Black Adam.
They were such a good team. Hawkman was really well realized. Dr. Fate,
I love Doctor Fate.
he was great. Um, and we'll see what happens. I guess spoilers, but like, I think the helmet of fate will be transferred to someone else, probably. There's other people that have worn it,
Yeah.
so I think it'll be transferred to that. Um, I want to see a JSA spinoff. Maybe bring Hawk Girl into
hmm
the mix. Maybe just putting that out there.
I know you mentioned that. So Henry Cavill, was at one point. I know we were talking like earlier this year. This year you thought, isn't it's not going to happen, that it's done, and he came back. And there's somebody with Ray Fisher, with how he was treated by the studio and Joss Whedon and all that. That people probably think, well, that could never happen. Do you think, is there any world where we could get a cyborg and he could get kind of the justice he deserves and get a good portrayal?
The old guard is gone.
Mhm.
I mean, anything that was there before is gone. It's all new people. I feel like if they want that to happen, the studio's got to be the one
The Rock will make it
to,
happen.
yeah, The Rock will do it. Um, I just feel like Gunn and Saffron, if they want a cyborg, they got to do an olive branch.
hmm
They got to reach out and pay him whatever. I don't care. But
Yeah,
I liked his version of Cyborg. I think he had the heart of the character. His relationship with his dad. I mean, when his dad dies, that was heartbreaking.
hmm
But with his performance, you like felt his pain. So I think he was a good Cyborg. I'd like to see him back. Um, some of the stuff they did with his powers in the Snyder cut were so cool when he goes into like that little, when he's trying to hack into that ATM, but then like it's like he also goes into the
yeah,
ATM. I thought it was a cool way to like plus Cyborg's powers besides just, shooting the little proton cannon. Like I thought to make him like a technology god
yeah.
basically was like a cool idea. But I would like to see him come back.
Mhm.
And I mean, For the future, I mean, if we're talking 10 years, like, I want to see the Teen Titans at some point. I know they got their TV show at the moment, but I don't know how long that's going to last. So, I would like to see a cinematic version of the Titans. Um, and then eventually another Justice League movie.
You know, Dark Side is out there.
Darkseid exists. You have all your cast. I mean, you might need to recast Flash, but other than that, I mean, you have your people back. So, and I think there's room, as they say at the end of the movie, there's room for more.
yeah,
So, I think you add a couple characters. I don't want it to be like the first thing that comes out, though. I think
you'd build to.
I think we, build to it. I mean, the Snyder Cut was 4 hours long and did a great job establishing everyone. And it is sort of one of those like putting the team together type
Hmm.
movies. But, the theatrical version they tried to release, everything just kind of felt rushed.
Hmm.
And so I'm like, you really do like, I mean, I guess some people thought it was crazy that it was a 4 hour movie, but you really needed that time to get to know everyone, to care.
Yeah.
And so I think going forward, like having these characters have their own movies first, like having the Flash movie, having the Cyborg movie, having a proper, I mean, it's next year will make it 10 years since Man of Steel. So having a proper Superman movie, all of that stuff first, and then leading into whenever you do another Justice League film, which hopefully is not a
Yeah.
disaster.
I agree with a lot of stuff. Pretty much everything you said, I agree with, and I want to see. I would love to. I know in the Snyder was this a Snyder cut or which one you saw a pregnancy test with.
Snyder Cut,
Um,
yes.
so I'm a big fan of Jonathan Kent and Damien, their friendship, and so I think it'd be cool. They actually had an animated movie that just came out that I have not gotten to watch yet, but I've heard really good things about. It'd be cool for them down the road, for them to have like, if Superman could have a kid,
Hmm.
that'd be cool. And when it comes to Batman, I'm just super excited about all the villain shows. As a Batman fan, I'm excited for Batman 2. And I hope that we can finally get a Robin in a Batman movie. I feel like they had in the 90s, they did it, but
It wasn't really
it was
Robin, it was more, um, Dick Grayson, older.
yeah,
Robin typically is younger, like
teenage, yeah. So
teenager.
I get the reason why they probably are afraid of it sometimes. Is like
To avoid child labor laws.
probably something like that, and also because it can get like if it's an intense movie, having a young. I mean, we've done this before. We've got Spider-Man, we've got younger superheroes. So I mean, Robin has been a part of Batman for basically his entire history, and I feel like it hasn't really been properly done at any point in terms of the movies. We've seen him in TV shows, so I think it'd be really cool to have a Robin come in. I love in the in the Batman when he sees the young kid who the father, the mayor died.
Should I recruit you?
Yeah, is that Robin?
Yeah.
Um, but no, I think it'd be cool to bring in a Robin at some point. You know?
I think if it were to happen, it would be in Matt Reeves' universe.
Hmm.
So maybe the sequel.
Yeah, sequel or the third one,
Have
or
like a younger Dick Grayson and do the whole like flying Graysons thing.
yeah,
Oh, that'll be so tragic in live action to
yeah.
see that happen. Um, yeah, we'll see. I mean, I agree with you. I want to see it happen. I feel like it's like they're always scared to do it though.
Were
So
they at, and this might fall into the category of pre-gun stuff. Were they not at one point doing a Nightwing thing? No, he was gonna appear. Was he appearing in back? What was he gonna appear in?
there were rumors he might appear in Batgirl,
And then now that's
although
not happening
I feel
anymore.
like that's kind of been
Because
dispelled
was
at
it
this
Logan
point.
Lerman that they said was going to play him, or there
No,
was someone
Dylan
Dylan? Yeah, that's right.
O'Brien, but I feel like that has
Yeah,
that's
with
not
Batgirl, that's.
happening. So
But if you set up a Robin in the Batman movies, you could then as he gets older, you're a huge Nightwing fan. You could have a Nightwing. You know.
oh, totally. I mean, I love the Nightwing actor on Titans. I wish he could just kind of move over.
Yeah.
I feel like he does a good job, but um Yeah, I think just uh, letting things happen organically, I
Yeah,
think is like the lesson that needs to be learned. Like, you can't play catch up to Marvel. You got to do your own
yeah.
thing. Um, and so start out with your younger Robin, eventually, because people grow. So
That's what
the Shazam kids know all about
that's what
that.
I worry about that with Shazam sometimes. Like,
Yeah,
by the time he's in like Billy, Billy keeps getting older. Like we gotta move.
Billy's like
Yeah,
Shazam,
exactly.
and his voice is deeper than Zachary
Yeah,
Levi's.
exactly. Yeah.
Well, I they probably got like maybe one more movie out
Yeah.
of them kids, so they better make it fast. That's all I can tell them.
He's a
But
lot. He's grown a lot since even in the trailer. You look at that versus the first one. Like
yeah,
he's
they've changed a lot. Um, well, I think just having Robin get a little older, eventually becoming Nightwing. Maybe he meets a girl from another planet who's orange at some point. Or maybe, you know, a girl who's like, kind of satanic or whatever. Or a green boy that changes into animals. So maybe he meets some
I
of
feel like
them
you're
along the
alluding to
way.
something.
Yeah, maybe. So
And they would go and they would be like, so they're adolescents and they're not gods, but there's another word. They're, I don't know. I can't think of it.
me either.
So I think Teen Titans. So
Oh,
in summary, as we're wrapping up here, I would say that I'm feeling very, very bullish about the future of the DC movies. I think we're going to see some good stuff in the future. I know a lot of people giving DC crap, which I think even a lot of the crap that it got in the past few years has not been warranted. A lot of it's just like people feeling, I need to be Marvel. I can't like DC. It's like you could actually like both.
yeah.
It's crazy.
Mhm.
Um, but I'm feeling really optimistic about the future.
Yeah, I think this is kind of what needs to happen. Um, I am hoping, it's not just like a scorched earth policy. I hope we keep what worked, which I
Mhm.
think, a lot of it did work. I mean, to me, Henry Cavill is Superman.
Well, if they had Henry
And
Cavill in that post credit scene, it's like they're going to bring him back. So I
yeah,
think they're going to do like you said, what worked, what didn't work. Like, that was wording, and purge that stuff,
yeah,
but keep the stuff that worked. And then maybe we can, as the stuff comes out next year, and as we get more information, we could probably do another video, another check in, see what's going
yeah.
on.
Next year it's going to be so busy for them, assuming everything, comes out on time. I mean, we'll see what I think some of the Flash has been reshot.
Hmm.
So that might mean, setting up something different for the future. I mean, I think, Shazam 2, that movie will come out. I don't think anything about it will be universe changing. I think look to the Flash to see what happens.
Yeah,
I think that's the best thing going forward. And they still have several months, so they could even, they could change things. I mean, that Henry Cavill cameo was shot like a month before the movie came out, so that we believe.
yeah,
So they can change a lot in that time.
yeah.
So
Well, thank you for joining me. I appreciate it, and we'll have probably another video down the road updating on DC movies or just anything in general. This is fun. We'll do it again sometime.
sure, thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Yay, comics!